afternoon. We call to order this regularly scheduled board meeting of the Vicksburg Orange School District on June 29th, 2017. Our first order is our invocation, which this evening we presented by Mr. Naylor. Mr. Naylor. No. Didn't see you hiding over there. You're hidden behind that. Okay. Are you standing up? Okay.
Let's bow. Father God, we come to you today, Lord. Thank you, Father God, for this day that you bless us with, Father. We thank you, Lord, for an opportunity, Father God, to serve, to not only serve you, Father God, but to serve the students and the teachers of this district. We ask, Lord, that you continue, Lord, to crown our heads with more wisdom and knowledge. Continue to grow us, Father God. We ask, Lord, that you will help us, Lord, to be good examples of who you are. We ask, Lord, that you continue, Lord, to strengthen the leadership of this district. Continue, Lord, to give us visions, Father God, that come from you, that we may continue to grow Warren County. We thank you, Father God. We ask, Lord, that you forgive us of our sins. Continue to bless us and continue to lead and guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Naylor. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If none, do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We have an adopted agenda. The next item would be the approval of our last regular scheduled board meeting minutes on May 17th and our special called board meeting minutes on May 24th and June 13th.
Mr. Chairman, we call for additions or deletions to minutes of the May 17th, May 24th, and June 13th.
Mr. Secretary, if I may just make a comment, but no addition or deletion. I just want to, the paper, it said that we had we recommended, we've done the custodial and all of that in the newspaper. I'd just like to make a note for our constituents that this time the paper kind of jumped the gun, and it wasn't, you all tabled everything
Right.
instead of the way they had it here, sir.
Right. Okay, with that correction, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the minutes of May 17th, May 24th, and June 13th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adopting the minutes presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have approved minutes. Next is our superintendent's report. Mr. Sheehan.
Absolutely. It's kind of brief. I've tried to trim those things down, but I do have some pretty important events that occurred. One, we got an Army representative visited our Academy of Innovation, which is kind of amazing because we've extended, again, I think what's good for one student is good for all students, so we're trying our best to extend access to our Camp Innovation and our GEMS Camp. We got a lot of traction there, which was nice, and sometimes in a federal budget when things get whittled down, you don't get additions, but we were able to do that. One of those was our GEMS Camp that was offered at Academy of Innovation. So they came down from the office and toured our facility, and they were so impressed, and we talked about ways to help extend our use there, and we got some good feedback and hopefully some good leads on ways to get federal internships tied to research, and which was awesome. So that was a plus for us. The other thing is we had the Impact Learning Innovation Summit. I was able to be the keynote speaker there, and we had several of our schools that presented, and this is a conference for innovation that's held by the Mississippi State University Research and Curriculum Unit. And to quote, and I wished I had the video camera on because it was one of our districts that are a good bit more highly performing than us, however, had come and gotten a tour with us. One of the things he said, and y'all feel free to correct me if I misquote, we had a Q&A at the end of David Campbell's session, and he raised his hand and he said, I'll go ahead and tell you, if you don't get anything else from this conference, you better make sure that you get a contact from Vicksburg Orange School District. He said, the things we saw there have lit a fire under us, and we're trying to do what they're doing there. So that was great to hear that pre-commercial from somebody we didn't pay. In addition, we had one of our students at the early college, Bill Sandifer's daughter, was on a panel there, and it was awesome to watch her just unload about how she felt the program at early college was just right for her, and articulate to a group of 300 adults as if she was one. That was amazing. So we were so very proud of her. We had regular Superintendent's Advisory Council meeting. Those things are getting more active with the state superintendent that y'all allow me to serve on a committee there. There's about 12 superintendents across the state that really get firsthand information, and a lot of flexibility. Some of the things that have been very important to me is how hard our special education teachers work, and our special education students get 0 credit in our graduation rate for our effort. So they're looking for some flexible ways to adjust that, which was great. We also, it was announced that we do have one of our employees that will be on the new accountability committee, commission, which is awesome, because what we're trying to do is look at the flexibilities of what we do and we don't get credit for, because we know very well that a lot of things that we do count, but they're not counted. Looking at how we get our industry certifications recognized, graduation rates up for those who may not necessarily be in that 4-year cohort, that we're doing extra work to get back on the table to be educated. Also, we were invited to be a part of I guess it was more of a think tank with the Mississippi Department of Human Services and their Gen Plus implementation. Generation Plus is one of their motivations to take multiple family units and educate them all at once and give them supports to make it better. And of course, that was one of the things that our school board became a part of when they agreed to enter into that grant with them, and we will be getting kicked off with that. They, of course, called our name out in a room full of people. It's always good to hear Vicksburg's name out there. And then we're moving forward with our Ford NGL meeting. We will have our designation August the 3rd. We invite everybody always to come be a part of that, but we're very excited about that designation. 9:30. At 9:30 at the Vicksburg Convention Center. Also, I'd like to invite everybody out tomorrow. We've got a big day. There's a gentleman who was a legendary coach here. It's Houston Markham Jr. He's got a day, and it's this Friday. The festivities start at 3:45. The parade begins where, Coach?
At the Ameristar Hotel, start lining up at 3 p.m.
3 p.m., and it will end at Vicksburg Junior High, and the event will be the rest of that afternoon. We have a special event that starts at 6:30, which is a recognition ceremony. He doesn't want all the attention, but he's done things that are remarkable, so we want to give him the opportunity to celebrate him. That's me.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda would be our financial report. Mr. Burke.
First, I would like to start with our bank reconciliations. Just to say, at this point, as of June 2017, all of our accounts are reconciled and balanced. Moving on to our fund balance analysis, the district maintenance account 1120. We have right now have an ending balance of $20.46 million in operations. And a total fund balance for it doesn't show total. For district maintenance, however, I will caveat that by saying we're just not closing our books at June 30th tomorrow, and we're still projecting to come in about $11 million in operations at the end of close. Moving on to statement of receipts. For our district maintenance budget, we've received 94% of what we budgeted for district maintenance revenue, which is, that leaves us only $3.6 million more to collect in our revenue. Overall revenue, we've received 87% of it year to date. With our district-wide expenditures, district maintenance expenditures, we've received 84% of our expenditures, which is actually less than what we've gotten in revenue. So we got more revenue than we spent in receipts thus far. Total district-wide expenditures, we're at 81%. We've spent 81% of our total budget for expenditures, which is again below our overall receipts for our overall district. Avalon collection, year-to-date, if you look at the chart, you'll see that year-to-date, we've collected $27.58 million in overall Avalon, which is a little bit slightly higher than where we were last year. But if you look at the amount we requested last year versus what we requested this year, you'll see that on the chart that the percentage is lower simply because we requested more than what we got last year. Moving on to casino revenue. For the month of May, we received $121,000 in casino revenue, and that is because we did not receive anything from the city in April, and that $121,000 makes up 2 months' payment. We've been trying to work with the city to get our revenue in a lot faster, but it depends on when they get the revenue from the state is when they send it to us. MAP revenue, for the month of May, we received $2.5 million from the state, which is a little bit higher than what we received last month. And if you look at the charts year to date, we are below where we were this time last year by about $500,000, and that is due to the cuts that we've seen across the board for the current year. Moving on to our statement of cash flow. This report tells us how we're doing from day-to-day operations and the amount of cash we have on hand to be able to do operations. We're looking at projected ending the year at 11.39 or $11.4 million for the year, which is still puts us in a good position. And we have, if we use the 7% that the state used to mandate us to have, then we're $6.7 million over that. So as we continue to close the year and monitor our expenditures, we'll actually either balance our fund balance or we'll end up increasing our fund balance by $200,000 and some.
Just about double what we like to have.
Yes.
Just about.
Just
A little bit
about.
more than double.
Just a little bit. And that concludes the financial statements.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to accept Ms. Burke's?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the financial officer's report if there's no add or deletion to it.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second, to accept Ms. Burke's financial report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have accepted the report. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. We have several items to pull. I'll read those items. The consent agenda consists of sections F, G, and H only. The items to be pulled for discussion currently, unless the board has any other ones to pull, are F4, F5, F6, F11, F12, G1, G4, and G5. Are there any other items to pull for discussion off the consent agenda? If there are none, do we have a motion to accept the amended consent agenda?
So moved, Sturgis.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a proper second, to approve the consent agenda with the exclusions of F4, 5, 6, 11, 12, G1, 4, and 5. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have approved your consent agenda. First item for discussion is F4, capital assets, acquisitions, and surplus disposal. Mr. Sturgis, I believe that was yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On the new acquisitions, on the Heinz CC notebooks, is this a new, I know it's a new purchase, but is this a new class, or they don't have any notebooks, or we're just, well, how does that?
It's part of the CCE program is over at the Heinz Community College. So what we do is, we put the location, we have CPE over there, and we have River City Early College over there. So we put the location.
Okay.
But I will verify to you exactly which, department is over, each department is over.
Thank you. So I guess you're saying that these are new persons that will receive the 15 computers?
Yes, what happens is, if they didn't get, Chromebooks in that first round,
Yes, ma'am.
then we're buying Chromebooks for those people that didn't get them in the first round. So it's either River City Early College or CTE, and I'll verify to you which one that is.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you
Thank
have a whole new class of
Yeah.
children starting at the.
Well, we
Riverside.
had people, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And just one other, on the old laptops that are computers that are obsolete or no longer serviceable or whatever, did we replace these with some new, do we know if we, as we getting rid of the old ones, are we replacing them with new ones?
Yeah, and Wade, is Wade here? He could give, okay, Wade could give you,
When that is necessary, yes, sir, but most of the computers that we are obsoleting
Buy
are
Chromes.
computers that
No one was using.
no one was using, since we have replaced them already with Chromebooks.
Yes, sir.
Most of these are those Windows XPs that are still lingering that we have got to get rid of for cybersecurity issues.
Are we using them, are we gonna try to just throw them away, or are we gonna try to sell them, or?
They're
are we gonna-
obsolete, we are working with getting a recycling company to come in and purchase that equipment from us.
Okay. When that happens, would you please, update us, please, if that happens? with
Yeah,
the-
we have to approve that anyway, don't we?
That is something that y'all will have to approve.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, is there a motion to approve F4?
So moved, Sturgis.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and proper second to approve the new acquisition and surplus disposal of capital assets. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Very well, this has been approved. Next item is the MOU for Sunflower Medical, North Sunflower Medical. Mr. Sturgis, I think there's you too.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. On the, and I'm glad our attorney has already looked at it, so I just have just a few touch-up questions, if I may. Is the MOU for Sunflower, and I know I can't put them both together, but it's going, I'll ask the same question so we can, maybe we can
You can
answer
put
them
both of them
together. Is it for the entire K through 12, or is it just, I see where sometimes it, I know one group will be like the 15 through the 18 with the parents' permission, but is this K through 12 that they be looking at the dental, the whatever?
I believe so, and they coordinate with the principals to make sure that they don't interrupt with time. But I can get you a definite on the schools if you want like a schedule or something.
No, sir, I want to make sure, is it inclusive of everybody, or is it just first grade through 12th grade, or first, or?
Dead sign.
Yeah, this is the same one that we've done, and I know they've done
They
it
done
in
it with the
elementaries.
It should be for everybody.
Okay, have they come to yours?
They're still in high school, I know they're over at Vicksburg, because usually they correlate those times together.
So it's for
Yes.
everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. And then on the mobile dental, which is the second one, which is F6, I see that they have a $500,000 per individual claim, but I noticed on the Sunflower rule, it just stated that they agreed to obtain a liability insurance policy, or it has a minimum of $500,000 per claim, but as of this moment, have they done it? Because according to Mobile Dental, they have it. This one is agreeing to do it.
The plan is they would provide it before they ever come to our schools. They would give us proof of that insurance, which is what's required.
Okay.
I think there were a couple of things required. I can go back and look, but anyway.
Yes, sir.
They'll have to have that.
Okay.
And who, I mean, just between you and me, I mean, if they just show up at school, who's in charge of, is that Ms. Burke? Who would be in charge of verifying that we have that before we allow them to show up?
The principal's supposed, if they don't,
About the insurance though.
The insurance, I'm talking about the insurance.
oh, I mean,
Okay, so you're gonna make sure,
they show up at school.
you're gonna get them? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When this was recommended to us early on, and we asked, would they use local doctors to do this work? You know, we're supported by Warren County and Vicksburg. We're not supported by Sunflower and other places. Are there any local doctors included in this project or does anybody know?
I know, we engaged them in that conversation, and they had to, because that was the board's wishes. Now, this year, we've not asked that question, and I can ask that again.
But it's included in one of them, I can't remember, that they will get with.
Recommend.
Yes, sir.
local-
But I forgot
they will
which one,
engage
whether it
with
was
local-
5 or 6. It
That's
was-
correct.
One of them, it was included, but I can't tell you which one, sir.
When that gets approved by the superintendent, I'd like to know who
Sure.
the local doctors are that they recommended.
Okay,
Thank you.
I can do that.
They do have that in MHS Dental. I'm going back on last year now, there was some issue about, there were some doctors or dentists that did not want to
That's correct.
participate in it, and I think there was only one or two, you may remember.
That's what I remember.
There was only one or
I
two
think
that
it
was willing to participate with them.
Right, but they reached out to them, which was part of the
I
requirement.
just, that they ask them, I mean, you know. Okay,
Yes, sir.
is there a motion on 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, excuse me?
You got any more questions? Okay. Yes, sir, am I able to do, I better do them separate. I'd like to make a motion that we accept F5, please.
We have a motion to accept F5, all those in favor, was there a second? Is there a second?
Under the, what briefs, after, superintendent come back with the name of some of the, local doctors?
Coach, what they're doing is they're required to check with the local doctors to see if they'll participate.
Okay.
And they're providing that list. Now, I can't guarantee nor can the superintendent that they will participate.
But they at
Would
least
there be
offer the
no-
It's not
opportunity.
with the doctors, it's just with the dentist now.
Okay,
Just the dentist that they dealt with.
Okay. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve F5. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, F5 is approved. Do we have a motion on F6?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion we accept F6, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a proper second to approve F6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstain, it has approved. Next item for discussion is F11, Franklin Covey District Administration Workshop.
Yes, sir. Mr. Superintendent, or somebody may be able to answer this question for me. I see it's 75 persons that we're gonna pay Mr. Farnsworth. Is that all the administrators, some teachers,
Principals,
or?
lead teachers, assistant principals, counselors. This is that execute training that falls along the 7 habits.
Yes, sir.
But it's for the adults. And what we've done is he has given us a training that's a lot, because like corporate, this would be about 10 grand. So they're approaching it through the Franklin Covey, kind of the memorandum we already have that we're operating. So they're giving us a significantly discounted rate for that. But this is going to be at our, every year we have a district retreat, we bring the administration in and we do training with them. So this is part of that.
Hey, sir, could you answer my next question? Thank you so much for that money, because I was gonna say for $450 an hour, I won't complain.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm a shrewd guy.
Now, and this includes just the Franklin Covey, that's the, help me out.
Leader in Me, Sean
Leader
Covey.
in Me, this is all of, this teaching them how to,
It's,
for the
they
kids.
have a administrative training that's called Execute. What it does is they go in and they goal set, and then they teach a process about leading lag goals. Once they're identified, they put them in scoreboards, and those become visible throughout everything. And that's one of the things we'll have this year is everywhere, you'll know at any given time where we are on those goals throughout the year, and they'll be highly visible.
Okay. With that, I'd like to make a motion that we accept F11, please.
We have a motion to accept F11. Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion, proper second to accept F11. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, F11 is approved. Next is a request to bid for reading and math intervention programs. Mr. Sturgis.
I think, is somebody gonna give us any information, or?
You know, it doesn't have an attachment. Laura, do we have an RFP?
We're working on it, Mr. Schuler. We have not finalized it. I have contacted several companies to get some information and then to outline it, but we will have it available. We were informed last week
Yeah.
that we had to bid or either get double closing services. And
Okay, is,
And that's a change, and the state superintendent sent out an email last week stating that this is a new process that we have to follow.
And so it's,
it's a new, I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I can provide you with the information once we get it finalized.
Yes, ma'am.
So
But we will have it finalized.
are there details relating to our current reading and math intervention programs?
Sir,
Are there any details currently on what you're still formulating the statement of work for the services?
for the services.
Okay.
But I can tell you that they want when I say they, I'm talking about the building principals have indicated that they would like to have some kind of assessment pre and post, and they would like to have, materials to, assist the students with that, online and archives or workbooks.
Is this a new service, or is this service that we've purchased in the past?
It could be services that we have purchased in the past.
Okay, hold right there.
It could be new,
Okay,
because we're gonna put a request for proposal.
yes, ma'am.
So once it's out there, we'll have an opportunity to look at the proposals and decide which one we'll use.
Okay. The services that will be like we had, is there any way to, it should be, you can see what the service is, how it provided for our kids, how they produce or did not produce, to see if that service is necessary, maybe it's working, maybe it's not working,
Right.
if I'm making sense what I'm asking for.
You're saying that if we've used the services before, you might look at the test scores and
Yeah.
see if there was
Yeah.
progress?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, we will do that.
And
That would
Jim,
be-
this is really a sidebar conversation, but it's applicable to what this is. That comment has spawned a conversation. We have located something that we're investigating at this point, something called PD Analytics. And what it does is it takes all of the effect things, exactly what you're talking about, and it ties it to an effect size and puts it in a metric that can be usable, and it ties it to a dollar figure. We've actually, we met with that person about 2.5 weeks ago, and there's a session at Mass that I plan on attending to look at that, because you've expressed that interest a couple times, and we're trying to find a way to make that an easy metric. I know that the consultants that we're using, that is a prerequisite now that we talk, before we sign them up, we got to have scope of work and effect of the work, for that very reason.
Yeah, one other thing I'm certain, normally when we're doing services per school, they bring quotes and bring you guys a contract to sign. But with the new requirement for federal, if we're looking at the district as a whole, doing services over $150,000, we need to bid those services to make sure we're getting the best, price federal-wise. So that's one of the new rules that went down. So that's one of the reasons why she's requesting to bid, so that we can look at the service requirement request for the entire district, and see if we need to bid it and put together a statement of work that encompasses all of the assessments that the principals are requesting. And just in case it does go over 150, we'll be covered based on the state requirements or federal requirements.
So I would also, you're working with the principals, correct? I would
Oh,
also
absolutely.
hope that the principals are going to be doing the same thing we're just asking, that they're not going to request something that they don't feel is going to help move into the next level.
It is required now that everything that they purchase with federal and state funds, that they have some kind of evidence that it is working.
Okay.
Effective.
Excellent.
State required and federal.
Yep.
Any further questions?
No, sir, I don't have anything. I'd like to approve F12, please.
We have a motion to approve FF12. Are there is there a second?
Second it.
A motion and a second to approve F12. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? 12 is approved. G1, request to hire.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'd like to make a motion, we accept G1, please. I think I have some information.
All right. Is there a second? To approve G1, accept G1?
What was the revision to it? My pad has revised written on
We change job title.
it. Added an extra person, okay.
Any further questions? Do we have a second?
Before we have that second, I do want to make one note, though, if I may, and I know I apologize. I know it talks about, and let's say that I've had backdoor conversation with the superintendent, so I'll tell y'all up front. I'm truthful on most things. We talked about the minimum requirements and the salary scales. And from what I'm told two stories. So there's the real truth that I don't know. But we used to get what the salary range was and how much we were gonna pay Jim Sturgis, how much we were gonna pay Joe Blow or whatever. But now, all we do is just get and this is only for my constituents, so they'll know. All we do is just get a list of, the people that they're asking to hire, but I don't know how much they're getting paid. But I can, and I know it's public information, so I'm confused, and I don't wanna take up the time to tell you what I heard on this side and what I heard on that side, but after we're off camera, if you wanna ask me, please feel free, and I can give you both sides of the coin. So that was the reason why I pulled it, because normally I want to know how much, because then it tells me whether, you know, if it's comparable to, but, I just wanted to make that note to let you know that, the superintendent and I had talked about it. So with that,
So you have a motion to?
yes, sir, I made the
Accept,
motion.
is there a second?
I got a question on that.
Yes.
Is that replacing employee now we have?
Yes. It's a vacancy.
I second.
We have a motion and a proper second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have accept. Oh, what's next? Change in status. No, we didn't pull that, excuse me. G4, supplemental compensation.
Is that me? G2, G3. I'm sorry for pulling this.
Well,
I'd like to make a motion.
Well, let's ask a question real quick.
Okay, good.
This is only, we have other, is this just for athletics, or do we have other supplement? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why we're not approving all the supplemental at one time. This is for next year's?
These are new. I
These
think
are
they're
all-
new.
These are just new, so
Yeah,
if
yeah.
so if
new
you're
per-
already,
new
if you're
person.
staying XYZ, you're already getting it, you're gonna, we don't have to approve that each time? Or do we have to approve that each, does that make sense? I just asked that question.
You have to approve it with each budget.
Because it's an annual supplement.
Yes, and
So-
supplement.
It's an add-on to the contract.
Yeah, but I think these,
These are new, I think.
these are the new, but bowling and dance.
So the underwater basket weaving coach, when we approve it new, we would approve it here, but after that person's been in that position a year, we won the state championship for underwater basket weaving, and we want that person to do it again the next year, are we gonna, it's gonna be brought back to us to approve that
There's
again?
a full list of all supplements.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Sturgis, to approve G4, please.
Is there a second?
Second on G4.
We have a motion, a proper second to approve G4. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Been approved. Next up is compensation, is G5, compensation for non-contractual days. Mr. Sturgis? I think
Yes, sir. I know you're gonna be glad when I get voted out, because I ask the same question every year for the non-contractual days, for people getting paid to stack up papers. And I'll ask, this can't be done during the time that they're here. You can't make a plan out of it, or, and how many days? I see it's $100 per day, not to exceed 10 paraprofessional. And of course, I know what a paraprofessional is, but is it saying 10 days in the whole month? Or, and that's what, I'm trying to get this together, because it kind of, the people that are getting paid just 9 months, and then they got to hold their breath until school starts, and then yet we want to do something like this, and it kind of, you know, I'm on the other side of the coin, because I know what it is to not to have. So if you'd explain that to me and tell me why we can't do this during the course of, and I know you're gonna tell me, we got a lot of work to do, I get it. But, you know, when my boss would come in and tell me you gotta do it, I either do it or I quit. So, if you give me a reasonable explanation, I might not ask next year.
Dr. Braithwaite, your show.
Okay, Mrs. Sturgis, the main purpose for them coming back each summer, and this has started about 2 or 3 years ago, is because the test results are now sent to us on a PDF file. We have to then take those test results and print them out. Each ELO student that we have to print 3 reports for each one. We have to print a teacher's report, we have to print a parent report, and we have to print a report with a King folder. With that said, they could do it during the school year, but we don't get the test results until the summer. So if they do it during the school year, and these are the paraprofessionals that I have that are working with the ELO students, they'll have to take time away from the students. The amount that they normally would take is basically each one about $500. When we say $100 per day, they come in about 5 days, or anywhere 3 to 5 days. They work with getting the reports together. They get everything together for the schools. They have it ready for the schools to send to the parents, to place in the CUNY folder, and they also check the ELL files while we're there. And we also have to have a report to let the schools know which students performed proficient on the test and which one can be dismissed from the service. It's
No,
just-
I'm waiting.
Okay, it's just some things that need to be done before, that is preferred to be done before school starts.
And when do you get the report again?
We get a PDF file, the reports are sent to Mira Margaret, and they're sent, Mira Margaret Hearn, they're sent during the summer, and usually we'll get them in mid-July. And then, it's on a PDF, separated by school. We have to go into each school, then find that student's name and print it off, and print the reports.
Is there a reason, since this happens, is this gonna, in the foreseeable future, this would continue to happen?
Yes, sir.
Can't you
So
make it
instead-
part of the contract?
Can we just not assign this task to somebody and amend their contract so that every year you're doing this and you're not bringing it back, so we have or not?
But it still will be considered supplemental to their contract because, these are paraprofessionals and they're not certified employees.
Okay.
And we have to make sure that we're only paying them for at-will days, what have you. Because it's not directly tied to the 187 days, 180 days that they're working, this is outside of that, it will
Okay.
still be considered supplemental, and you'll still have to approve it.
Okay.
How many persons are we?
2.
2 persons.
2.
And the test results are from the tests that the state tells the students they have to take? Is that what you're
Yes, sir,
getting?
the one in,
Okay.
it's Lost Link.
Okay, so when you bunch those together, are you actually doing the final, getting what the score may be? Is that part of what they're doing, or are they just putting the package together and then they give it to somebody else?
They're putting the packets together, if I'm understanding you correctly, because the scores are coming in with that. The scores of the test results, they're coming in from that company, from Lost Link. Then the 2 paraprofessionals that I asked to come out to help me are the ones that work with the students throughout the year. Everybody just can't see students' test records and test results. If that were the case, I would allow my secretary to do it for us. But everybody just can't see students' test results. They have access to those students, they work with the students, so they can look at their test results.
So they're working with the students during the
During the
summer?
school year, during the school year.
During the school year?
Yes.
So right now, they're not working with the, okay, so that's where I was getting when you said to take away from the students. I see what you're saying, if they were going to do it during the,
Their
during
regular
the
school.
school, right,
But you
okay.
can't do that because you don't have a
Okay.
report, right?
We don't have the reports. The
Okay.
reports come in during the summer, and that's true with all test results.
Okay. And so then, that, I don't know how, I'm sure the attorney will cut me off in just a minute if I get, that tells me if, the test that you're talking about tells me if I pass or fail the science test?
No.
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 This is not
okay.
Questar, it's not state
It's
test,
not.
this is English language learner test, they're required to take
In
an
addition.
assessment. That's this specific test for our students, that English is not their first language. They have a course of study that's defined through them, that's through federal programs, and we have to monitor their progress. And then they will get to a point hopefully very soon, and as soon as they meet a certain criteria within this assessment, then they're no longer considered ELL students.
So how many students do we have?
We have 58. Some are being served and some are being monitored. They are monitored for 4 years.
So you have 58 students and 58 tests?
58 tests, for the most part.
And we have two
Everybody
persons.
is not tested,
Okay,
okay? If they are monitored, they may not be tested,
yes, ma'am.
okay?
No, I guess what, and see, here's, and maybe you and I can talk after, but I don't wanna delay the process. I'm just kind of wondering now, you have two persons, if it was 60, I'm gonna do it because that's easier for me to add and subtract, I'm very slow. You'd have 30, I'd have 30, and you'd have 30.
Okay,
Tests to do whatever, stack them up, get them ready, and get them done. So one person can't do
Print them
58. You print them out and all that. One person can't do that. One person print, one person finds the name, one person does, or whatever. Okay, I'll get the intricate details later. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Is there a motion on G5?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept G5.
Is there a second?
Second, Sturgis.
Give a motion and a proper second on G5. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Next on our agenda is Section I. Section I consists of several of our previously, the work for the district that was previously sent out for bid. The first item on the bid would relate to our security services bid. And Ms. Burke, did you want to walk us through the process that was followed and the recommendation of?
Yes, sir. For the security bid, we held a pre-bid conference and took all prospective bidders through the RFP requirements, any particular questions they would have, and they did a walkthrough to see the facilities. And then based on that, they were supposed to put together a proposal, submit that proposal to us, best price based on those services we're requesting. We then had a bid opening on May 30th, and what you see in front of you, based on the bid criteria, Thomas & Thomas came in lower, and we're requesting that the school board accept the recommendation for Thomas & Thomas as the lower bid be approved as provided for security services.
Who has that work now?
Baker Security.
Are you satisfied with Baker Security?
That would be a question for Mr. Naylor and Dwayne.
Well, they're a reputable local company. The state law says the lowest and the best bid. It doesn't just say the lowest bid.
I'll agree with that, sir. But like I said, when we put the recommendations together, I meet with the two people that are monitoring the services and providing the service. And if they're okay with there was no reason to doubt Thomas & Thomas could not do the job. They are local as well. So we move forward requesting that we move forward with Thomas & Thomas.
So, real quick, I assume part of your vetting process was for them to provide references, or?
Yes.
And I assume that were all of the bidders able to provide references that they were able to provide this type of work, or that they're doing this type of work already in the community, or?
Yes. One of the questions that we asked is, do you have the manpower to accommodate some of the requests that we're asking? And, the response for all three was assured yes.
Okay.
Ms. Burke, and we have zero jurisdiction. Okay, I already know that. But I have to ask this because, again, it goes back to my statement earlier, is that I see the lowest bid, and you may or may not know, but some of the persons, do you know if he's going to decrease some of the persons that, let's say if I'm making $14 and being the lowest bidder, will they change mine from 14, that, as far as you know? I can use that, as far as you know. I don't want you to assume, you can just tell me you don't know if you don't know. Then they switch me back to $7.25.
That is not a question we asked on the bid process.
I get that, So, pretty much it wasn't said.
Exactly.
What's our current rate per hour?
Our current rate is $14 an hour.
Yeah, I know they can give you whatever they want to because they get it, I get that. But, and it's just the persons that I'm concerned, I really want them to, because it's hard enough to live on $10 an hour, and then you wanna put me back to $7.25. We'll get the same thing we got with the janitorial contract last year, which wasn't good in my opinion. So I'm just, and again, I know we can't ask it, and I said it up front.
So,
I'm
the other challenge we have, what you're saying, I think what you're saying too is, if you choose a vendor that's giving you a price at X, we also don't know how much the employee's getting to know what caliber, because technically, all of these vendors could be paying minimum wage, but the company taking a larger portion of it.
Well, and I will say this, this process belongs to you guys. Thank you. It's, if I present you with the criteria, you as a board can decide, and the RFP specifically says that our board reserves the right to waive or discount any vendor, and you get to choose which vendor you want to move forward. That's been specific, that is in every RFP that we put out, and that is also communicated verbally, that you guys have the right to waive any informalities and choose whatever vendor you want to move forward. It's my job to put the numbers in front of you. Just because we make the recommendation to go with the lowest, you guys can make the option of saying, well, we want to go with this company because of X reasons. You have that option to do that.
Yep, your buildings, your money, your kids.
So let me get this right. So currently we have a vendor, and that vendor, this previous year was charging us $14 an hour,
Yes,
and they went up.
yes.
Okay.
That's my only concern. I'm not debating on everything that you've done as far as choosing and what you've done. I'm just concerned about the people.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. It's my job to follow the steps. It's your job to choose the vendor that you want to move forward with. And it's our job, after you make that choice, to manage it.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I would like, hear from our SRO and our AD, since they will be dealing with these, vendors in the security part more than anybody else. Just what your opinion.
Were y'all a part, I mean, you a part of this process to know,
They're the ones we're dealing with.
Mr. Naylor, were y'all a part of this process to know?
Yes, sir, we were.
And I assume that everyone's bidding the same number of hours at each of these locations? Or
Yes,
it's just an hourly rate
we
for that?
specifically give them the hours that we're requiring for each location and the number of SROs we need at each
Or
location.
officers of the?
Yes,
Okay.
officers, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, just to echo, definitely, Baker absolutely had the contract prior to that, but, not to say that the service is good or bad, of course, everything could be good, a little bit better, or whatever the case might be. Like Ms. Burke said, Thomas and Thomas was the lowest bid, not despite Baker or anybody else that bid.
I just wanna know if you feel comfortable, because, when things escalate at games and everything, then you got to feel that you got, whatever security that we need, that we're gonna have.
That we're gonna have the caliber of people we need to assist
That's all I
in
ask.
that. So are you comfortable if with
Are you comfortable?
with the recommendation, or?
Yeah.
Whatever is, at the will and the pleasure of the board. Now, it's the will and the pleasure of the board, you know,
I'm with you.
well, at the end of the day, I never worked with Thomas and Thomas. I don't know the caliber of guards that he or she has.
Right.
Okay.
I worked with Baker Security. I know the pros and I know the cons, you know, and like I said, I've worked with them for years, so. But like I said, there's no smite on Thomas and Thomas.
Okay. Mr. AD?
You know, to echo both these individuals. But I will say, in any given moment, any given situation,
Right.
I can't sit up here and say, if something happens at a game or something happens at a school, who is gonna be better suited to do the job? Have we worked with Baker before? Sure. Do we know what Thomas and Thomas is gonna bring to the table? No, we don't know that yet. But I can't sit here and say that if something happens at the athletic event, that I'm 100% positive that anybody is gonna do anything they're supposed to do, but Preston Naylor. So I can't sit here and say that, but it is at the will of the board to whatever you
And
guys decide
in our
to do.
position, we can only make an assessment based on what we're presented with. And,
So what other criteria were, other than price, what other criteria was used to evaluate?
we had, whether or not the rate, the response time that they put in the bid, they have, their experience, we looked at their experience, we looked at, whether or not they have all the required certificates, if they're properly, bonded, those type of things that we look at. That's just the objective side of it, that we can look at and make a recommendation.
Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir.
what is our,
Lowest and best is yours, and anytime you take a bid of any of this, you've got to go to the lowest and best. Now, if you choose to go with something other than the lowest price, in this case, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because you're comparing, this is not a matrix situation
Right.
like
Yeah.
some are. This is a, do you have the people, or you going to be at these places, what you're rating.
Right.
So the way I see this is, if you don't choose this lowest one, you better have a very good reason as to why you're not choosing this lowest.
okay,
Bid.
that answers all my questions. Any further questions?
Excuse me, I know I'm out of order. I know.
Yeah, just wait.
I'm out of order. But I will
You
say,
can't, you really can't.
Come in, are they gonna
Excuse me, sir.
bring new people in?
This is,
With that, I'd like to make a motion that we accept I-1, the approval of the security service bid.
Second.
we have a motion, proper second, to approve the recommendation of the administration on accepting this bid. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
That bid has been approved. Next item will be for copy and print services.
Okay. We went through the same process of bidding. We put out a RFP with specs, specific things based on, an audit that was performed of our district print, services. We put together specs, working with Wade and Christie on the, copiers throughout the district. And, we had two vendors to bid, Rico and Unitech. Unitech came in with the, best price, per, copies, as well as they had a higher overall score, in our matrix. So we're recommending to the board to approve Unitech as our vendor for the next 2 years.
Any questions, anyone on the board?
We normally do it for 2 years now?
Yes.
Okay.
And one other reason we're doing it for 2 years is because the, print shop comes, their contract becomes up for renewal, and we'll be able to bring in print shops and do district-wide in 2 years.
And one of the reasons we're having to really adjust is we set up, with the implementation of our technology in the classroom, we set a goal to decrease 1 million copies, and we've already decreased 2 million.
Yes.
So we'll need to readjust our,
And with the bid, by bidding this every 2 years, we've seen that we're getting better product, we're getting, more options for print copies, as well as a much better price.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Unitech bid.
We have a motion to approve the Unitech bid for the copying and print services. All. is there a
Second Sturgis.
Second. And we have proper second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Item 2 has been approved for Unitech. Next one will be our custodial services bid.
Yes, sir. We went through the process again. We held a pre-bid conference where we invited all the prospective bidders to come in. We took them through the process. They did a walkthrough of all of our facilities, quoted us based on the specs that we had in the RFP, and we sat down as a team and rated them. We did price first, and if the lowest bidder got a total number of allowable for price, and then we went through as a team and basically each person gave points for individual areas, and we put those points together and put together one consolidated report for the board. Based on this, because we've had issues with our janitorial services, 2 contracts in a row, we talked as a team and said it would probably be feasible for us to go forward asking the board to allow us 2 alternatives and increase and write the contract up or statement of work up to where after so many complaints or we would remove that scope or that location from that vendor and allow one of the alternatives to take that building over. That gives us a little bit more flexibility of being with the contract for 2 years and still have unhappy principals, or unhappy directors, and unhappy building employees.
So that documented 3 complaints would be that wasn't resolved, or you're gonna give them time to resolve that? Or you're just gonna say the 3 complaints are?
Well, the 3 complaints, to me, the first, and we've had this discussion in the pre-bid conference as well, and even in the bid opening. If you get your first complaint, you should be working at one three complaints at one location is saying you're not managing something correctly. Because that first complaint should be a red flag that you missed something. That second complaint, then we really need to be having conversations with the principal or what have you. So that third complaint, there needs to be some true direction as to where you're going before you lose your scope.
Okay. Do we have monetary penalties for, because the other side of it is, if you have a complaint, it's kind of like I'm asking you to build my house, and if you build me one house and it's not built correctly, you're saying if I build you 3, I'm gonna fire you, but you didn't build the house correctly. So what kind of penalties are in place that if you are not performing, that we get something back? Because you didn't do the work I'm paying you to do, right?
Well, the biggest part of it is the monetary penalties have not worked in the past. We have not gotten anything corrected based on monetary penalties. So what we've talked about as a team is if you're not making the corrections, you lose scope. So if you lose money, the opportunity or the option of losing money or losing scope at a location, to us, it would drive you a little bit more to do the job you were hired to do. So if I know that there's 2 people waiting in the wings for me to mess up, and
it doesn't have to be rebid, we can automatically give it to them.
Yes.
Okay. Because my expectation of however you write the contract is, when those schools are reset for the day,
Yes.
at the end of the day, if I were to go into a building at 8 o'clock at night, and there are no other children coming in that building, no other activities, that building should have been reset and ready for school the next day.
I totally agree.
Not just this past year, but years in the past, that has not been the case.
At some location.
At some locations. And
that is one reason why we wrote it this way, because if you're not resetting it the way you're supposed to, then you are putting yourself in a position to lose scope.
Lose that scope.
And that's what, I've told all of them, is your scope to lose.
Okay.
Few questions, ma'am. I see that, and if I'm wrong, please stop me in my tracks, that you all are asking SSC service, but they are not the lowest bidder. And if I heard correctly, we have to go with the lowest and the best unless we have a darn good reason as
have a
why
matrix.
we can't do that.
Yes.
Second question is when on the custodial contract for 2 years, at the 1.3 million, if we cut that person out, will their contract be cut from the 1.3 million and given to
Yes.
the other ones? So it's gonna, we won't have to pay them the full 1.3 million.
Exactly.
For the 2 years.
Yes, sir, and that's what's the understanding. If you lose scope and we have to bring in somebody else to, work your location, then they get paid that amount that you were hired for. You no longer get paid the 1.3 million. And to go with what Briggs was saying, it's the lowest and best, but we did a matrix so that we can score, so that price would not be our only factor. Price was only 30 points out of the entire, matrix. And the other elements you'll see here that got us to 170 points.
I'm looking at, and my additions are very slow, but I'm looking over $200,000 more. And I just want to make sure that in each school, there's, I'm just throwing out, don't y'all write this down, okay? But for Viner, the cost would be $100. For Dana Road, the cost would be $100. So if they stop doing Dana Road, you just take that $100 out the contract and
give to
give
somebody
to
else.
somebody else. So each school is broken down
Yes,
on
sir.
how much it's gonna cost.
Yes.
Okay. And I just wanna make sure, because, I'm a little leery. For $188, I ain't going to jail for nobody. I wanna make sure that, if we go, if we fall in one track, the lowest and the best, I want a reason so good.
But-
I want it bigly. I want it real big, so I can, make sure that Mr. Attorney don't have to, be my attorney when I'm in front of the judge saying for $188, you're going to jail for 3 years.
So let's talk
For not
about,
picking.
let's talk about that. So looking at the numbers here, and I want you correct me here, you had several, in this rubric here.
Yes.
You have several that got 0 for references.
And,
And they may have also been a lower price, but they got 0 for references, meaning,
and the reason why, and I will say, the reason why, as a team, and it was a group of us, 4 of us, we discussed it. We didn't, based on the past experience with these 2 companies, we were referenced enough. Based on
Correct.
our experience with those 2 companies, we were able to determine the level of work that we got from them. And other teams, the other 2, we had no experience with. We would actually have to call their references to see what they said. Everybody looks great on paper. We're looking at our experience.
so what, did you, the other ones that we had no experience with, did you check references?
Yes. And even if we gave them whole 5 points, they would still be in the same ranking. So,
Yeah, okay, so if you take that references completely out of there, you're saying that the.
everybody would still be in the same
Everyone
ranking.
would see okay, first would be first, second, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
SSC is from where, Jackson?
We got the attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Go ahead, and I've got a few questions after a comment.
Okay, I know about GCA because it's been here before, but
Yes.
SSC, where are they from?
Alabama, South Carolina,
I'm sorry.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, Knoxville, Tennessee, okay. Okay.
You ready for me? Mr.
Yes, sir.
Couple of questions and a comment. On the, just the comment, I guess, first on the documented complaints. I know what's meant by that, but it needs to be, or in my opinion, it ought to be a documented, verified, just because somebody makes a complaint.
Right.
Somebody could be just mad and a bad day, or somebody
So
jealous about something.
we're
So
assuming that you're gonna approve this
verified.
language somehow.
Well, a contract, what I've done in the past, I haven't seen anything yet that's been proposed, but I'd like to.
Well, that's what I'm saying, before we roll it out, before we give anybody a contract, we always let you review whatever we give.
Gotcha. And I think this is the question Mr. Sturgis was getting at, on the, considering somebody has authority documented or verified complaint situation, they're out of that school building,
Right,
and the other person comes in.
yes.
Have they given you a quote on the per job, because obviously you're not gonna pay them the full amount, have they given you a per job or per hour
We have,
basis?
We have all of that broken out by school. That's one of the things, we have a requirement that they bid by location.
So there, we would be able to use that price.
So, yeah, so if they
To
were done,
reduce
as, I think you're like, if they went to Beaumar for that day and they put in a full day at Beaumar, you're gonna know what that price is for that day. That's
Yes.
been- all right. And then the final thing, because I've never seen this before, is what you got is, there's a tie score I see on 2 of the vendors. And I just wanna make sure that if our document had something in there, if there's a tie, how that would be handled.
Well, right now, we're asking for 2 alternates.
You did ask, okay.
Yeah, we are asking for 2 alternates, and those 2 are the ties. We're asking for those 2 to be our alternates. Because if you look, we're looking at a 2-year span.
I understand. I'm wondering, one, did we have anything in the bid process that would say in the event of a tie? Maybe not, but it is, and that's not a huge deal. But then the second thing is, you got 2 different groups down here, and if you're calling one over the other, is the other one gonna say, why am I not getting the calls?
Could we allow
Let's assume
them-
you got the 3 complaints, and
would
number
you-
1's out,
Well,
and then you got a tie.
and one of the things we explained is, if we call one over the other, then Bill is in charge of assigning the locations. And what we tried to do, and it actually worked out, we wanted to do, for our alternates, we wanted to do a large company, and we wanted to do, a smaller, local person. And it just so happened the 2 on the end are smaller local companies. And so that would give them an opportunity to do the work, but the large scope jobs, they may not be able to handle, so Bill would allocate that to, the larger, option.
Is that clear on, so that they knew on the tie process that that's the way? I'm a little concerned about, and I don't want Bill to be put in a tight spot about who he picks to use. Assuming somebody gets 3 complaints, and we go in, so you start picking.
Well, another thing is, we've
problem.
talked about giving the 2 alternates 1 administrative location. And if you as building principal come in and see that Bill is not cleaning your building, and you see that I've gone to the central office and whoever has central office, I love the way they do this, and they can request and say, I would like to try this person at my building. So we're giving the principals option to say, who they would like to come into their buildings and do the work.
Look, I got no problem with the primary vendor, and I don't wanna put y'all, him, anybody else in a tight spot. I
So
don't know, because I've never dealt
They
with a
bid
situation
each
where you do an
building,
alternate
let me go to
tie.
so could you have a vendor that is the highest, has the highest price on here, but actually was lower at one specific school than others?
Yes,
So what you're also, point I'm trying to make too is you might have, of these 2 alternate vendors, one of them might have bid Bovina at a lower rate, and is that gonna go into your consideration?
Yes.
Okay, when you go to select the person,
we'll look at the individual schools, and
does
then,
that make sense? If you had to choose an alternate vendor at one of these schools, you would look at their bid to see which.
because our goal, like Mrs. Sturgis said, our goal is not to go over the total price for the services. So if I'm looking at an alternate, I'm looking at, out of the 2, which one bidded the lowest for that building to keep us within the perspective of this amount, simply because if we go over this amount and it's a budget impact, I have to bring it back to the board.
Ms.
Okay.
Perkins?
Attorney, are you comfortable with?
I would like to do this. I don't have any problem with you guys approving just to satisfy myself, I'd like to do it before the night's over on the alternate vendors, look at that specific language, because I don't wanna put us in a tight spot. You can go forward with, SSC, as far as I'm concerned, if that's the person with the highest score on the matrix. That would be my preference at this point, and we can come back and table the alternate vendor situation until we can clarify that a little bit more to my liking.
Only thing, I'll say again, Ms. Burks, which is what I said on the others. We have no jurisdiction, and have 0 problems. But I think as this young man was wanting to say something, I'll say it for him. Do you know if they're going to pay the same rate, keep the persons that are already here. Because again, we just don't want to have the unemployment, or we don't want to pay somebody what they're being paid now, and then all of a sudden, and I know you have nothing over that, okay? But I have to make that, part of me, because I feel like they are me.
We can make we can request, but we cannot mandate.
I get it.
Okay.
Now, question, what we were told in our last, service, that they were gonna hire those people that were here,
Yes.
and they were gonna not, pay less than, and, when we went through that, so, I don't feel comfortable with anybody that's making less than what they're making and doing the same work.
Yeah, I don't know that we can, I don't
I
know that
know,
we,
like I say, that just.
yeah, I
my
understand
opinion.
that. I know that legally we can do that. We're hiring a private contractor to provide those services. And I understand, everyone understands that, I would have also expected that the principal, whoever wins this, the principal's gonna make some type of recommendation of whether or not their building was clean.
Yes.
And that would indicate to me whether or not they're gonna retain the people that were doing that great work or not.
Yes.
Cause some of our buildings are
Some
immaculate.
are immaculate, yes, they
And I
are.
think,
But like I said, we, as a district principal, superintendent, whoever, we can request or recommend, but we cannot mandate. And I can only hope that our vendors are open to, requests, but that it's not something we have privy to mandate.
Do we have to go 2 years? You just wanna go 2 years?
It's,
What was your question? I didn't hear you.
Probably requested it on 2 years, didn't you?
Is it a 2-year? I would say, do we have to go?
This
You
point,
gotta
we'd have to go out
you'd
for
have to
bid to
rebid it,
change it.
you'd have to rebid it if you're gonna go back to 1 year.
Okay,
yeah, because the price is based on a 2-year service.
okay. Okay, I don't have anything to say.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to, on the recommendation of the administration?
Well, does that include the alternate situation too, or you just?
Well,
Or you just
Here,
asking
here
what's
what the attorney
primary?
wants to, concerns is that if we make a
Take-
recommendation, to go with what the administration is saying, that we probably need to table these alternates until the until the attorney can do some more research. Do we have a motion?
Who was the low bidder on that?
The lowest bidder on here was, GCA. They had the most points for price.
Are they the ones you're presently using?
No, Service Master is what we're presently using.
But due to the
Lowest, yeah, keep in mind, the lowest
lowest is not necessarily.
price is not the highest on this.
Yeah,
list.
the price is not necessarily the highest based on the rubric they came up with. The SSC services, based on all the criteria, was the one that achieved the highest score, and that's the one that the administration is recommending. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this item until the next board meeting, since there's not any consensus of the group.
If we, I guess I would like to ask this question before we entertain that, is that by not selecting a vendor, we have no one to clean our buildings. As of what date?
You'd have to, presumably, you'd have to hire individual, just like the old way, because you're right, you won't have a.
I won't have a vendor currently that can clean and prepare my buildings for the start of school, if we don't make a decision.
you
When,
have to
by
hire
when?
Individuals.
When's our current contract in?
June 30th.
Oh, I would encourage that we need to, we were elected to make hard decisions. I think we have some information here. I'm not saying which way we need to make a decision, but as board members, we were elected to do a job. I think it's behoves us at this point in time to talk this out and to try to come to some kind of consensus on a decision. Seeing as we're not gonna have anyone to clean our buildings. Do we know what, so if we don't hire a company today, we're basically going to authorize the district to hire these individual people to now work for the district and pay benefits to, and what would something like that cost? A lot more than $1.3 million over 2 years?
That's the reason I think we need to
You may be
table.
hiring just for, till the next meeting. You may have to hire for a month, you know, just.
And we're going to be able to do that?
Oh, sure, yeah. You can hire any-
Who's gonna
any
manage these people to
classified-
clean, I
any
mean,
classified staff, no classified staff that I'm aware of is on contract. It would be at-will employment with classified staff.
so we have someone, if we were to hire these people to manage these people to ensure that the work's being done so that we can have buildings clean and prepared for school?
Principal's responsible for each building.
It will be definitely more than the increase that we're experiencing from current contract to the new contract. Because the minute they go full-time, whether it's for 1 day or 1 week, we still have to pay benefits. We have to insure, we have to give them insurance, and we have to make sure that they're added to our payroll for the next pay cycle.
Either way,
And then we have to
the
get them
current
in.
vendor
Yeah.
no longer has any of the employees.
Yeah, so they're gonna basically send them home. They're gonna send the home. You're not gonna have anyone in the building on Monday morning cleaning and prepping the building.
Correct.
It'll probably take 2 weeks to hire people.
Yes. Because they have to go through, they're gonna have to go back through our fingerprint process, they're gonna have to go back through our background check process.
At least 2 weeks. It'll take probably
That long to get
30
the,
days to,
it's gonna take at least 2 weeks to get the, background checks back.
Can they extend the current contract a month?
Now, that is an option.
Do we have a provision, and I'd have to look at the current contract to see if we can.
I don't know if we do or not, I can't remember.
And then, of course, then you guys.
so I guess the question I have for our other board members is what information are we gonna need or don't have, or we're asking the administration to provide that would help us make a more informed decision that we don't have already?
Because if it's a matter of the staffing, like I said, we can't request it, but if you wanna ask the question, the representatives are here.
Is that appropriate to ask that question?
Sure.
I mean, like, to-
What question are you asking?
I think
You can
your
ask
question, what is your intentions to staff this? Is that, or are you referring to the people that currently have a contract? Well,
No,
the new
the
vendor.
new contract.
Okay. Is it appropriate to ask the new vendor what, I don't know what information we don't know. I don't know information we don't have now that we'll have in 30 days. I'm trying to figure out, because we need to instruct someone to go get that information, right?
I would like to, on behalf of myself, I would like to see information in front of me, with the rubric that we use, the ones that we got the situation that one is outweighing the other one, and the principal who has put in these complaints at these different schools. Because a lot of people that maybe because the absence of being out of it might not even be here now.
I don't know what information, that Ms. Burke might have to, you know, she might have all the information that maybe would be helpful to bid, that was given with the, I've got it on my computer, not everybody may have it, but meeting, of course, we've got a motion on the floor, I don't know if it's ever been,
It hasn't been
if
said.
that needs to be.
I guess my
dealt
question
with
is
first.
there,
But,
is there, that's why I would like to know what other information you're wanting, because the other side is, I mean, you could table this to the next board meeting, or you could table this till we could be provided the information. I think making a decision, whatever decision we make, is paramount based on timing. Waiting another 30 days, in my opinion, is not an option. I think we need to decide what information we don't have, so we can make an informed decision and then determine when that decision can be made, because I'm concerned that waiting 30 days is too long. You know,
When does the present contract expire?
the 30th.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Right.
So that's why I was asking the other board members, is there information, Coach, that you wanted that is even providable in, as a word?
Like, if there's specific things that you guys need as far as documentation, I can get that. If there's specific questions you want to ask of SSC, they're here to answer questions. I just need to know what it is that you need.
Is there a representative from SSC here?
Yes.
Sir, what is your, so technically, if you were to be awarded this contract, you have to staff up? What would be your plans to proceed if you were awarded this contract?
Our intent is to use the same folks that are currently working, provided they go through our background check process. We need to make sure folks are safe in the building. I'll also go on record to say that our intent is to keep the pay at the same rate. Nobody's gonna do the same work for less money. And I'm saying that, in all faith, because we don't know what they're making now, but we've done this enough to have a pretty good idea. So I know there's some in the room, when they provide us their last paycheck, we're gonna pay them at that same rate at a minimum. I know that was a point of contention as well for you guys.
And, we intend to be here Monday.
Does that answer some of your questions?
We'll also be here Monday as well. We hadn't had a chance to talk with Ms. Burke yet, but we plan to be here Monday to have staff meetings so that they can ask any questions they want to ask. One-on-one with our human resources.
You've got to eliminate the motion for no second or whatever.
There was no second.
well,
It died from no second. Is there any other questions while we have the representative here? Yes, sir.
Sir, may I ask you, on the, and thank you for that information that you just provided. The equipment, you'll have, if you are awarded, the equipment for the particular schools that you may get, will you have your equipment on site first day, ready to rock and roll?
We won't have equipment on site Monday, but we've made arrangements today to start ordering all the equipment.
Okay.
And the next week being a holiday kind of complicates things with it being in the middle of the week, but it'll be all in the equipment.
Have you done some schools? I understand you're out of Knoxville, Tennessee. You've done schools in this area?
This area, our higher education does Jackson State. I'm specifically K-12.
Jackson State?
I'm an alum as well.
He's all,
Oh, you gotta do it there.
he's all for it, don't apologize.
I take that back, I'm working.
Was that on the rubric? I didn't see it.
He's a Vicksburg person.
Yeah, it's kind of a homecoming for me. I lived here while my dad worked at Waterways while I was going to school. To answer your question, we will have equipment in.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know what else I can answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Well, I just want to reiterate, and I want to ask one more time, Mr. Attorney. $188, I don't want to go to jail for. Lowest and best, but then because of the metrics that we have here, it is under, as far as you're concerned, we're okay because we're not going with the lowest.
these were all provided, I'm assuming these were all provided to the potential vendors. All that was known in advance, and all the
Yes.
information was submitted, relying upon everything being done. I mean, I didn't look at any of the bid
Yes, sir.
stuff, but relying on everything being done according to the way that it was bid out, and that relying on the fact that your decision is based upon the information that you have been provided by staff that you have in front of you, and not anything that's been said, not the stuff, the who's hiring whom and when, you know, all that kind of stuff. You're relying on the factual stuff, then you're okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. And you do have some, the other persons that you spoke of, in case whoever we pick, doesn't do the job well, you have somebody standing in line, is that correct?
Well,
That's
Bruce
what I would like to
recommended
Oh,
us
okay,
table
okay,
it.
so that would be
He would like
something,
to table
And I-
the alternate.
okay,
I sent Briggs a text to contact Jim Keefe, because Jim Keefe has done this before.
okay, okay,
So
okay.
we're really, on advice of the attorney, selecting the primary, and we need to work out the details upon his approval of the process of how we handle the
The
secondary.
primary, yes. The
Okay.
secondaries, yes.
Okay.
Upon the attorney's recommendation, we accept, the financial, business person's, recommendation.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
With the exception.
With the exception of the
Yeah.
alternates being reviewed and have to come back and approve that process, correct?
Yeah, I'm hoping to look at that tonight before you leave here, so that.
We're
issue-
tabling that, we're just tabling.
Tabling that part of it.
Okay.
Correct.
With the, I will second reluctantly, but I will do it this time since you're from Vicksburg. But I'll second that motion, sir.
Go Tigers, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So you want to state the motion again, Mr. President?
Yes,
So
the
we're clear
motion
about
is
what
to
it's been.
approve the recommendation of the administration for the primary vendor for janitorial services, but we're tabling, the process or of choosing the, secondary, vendors until it's been reviewed by the attorney and approved. So, we have a motion and proper second to, all those in favor of, for the primary selection vendor for the cleaning, janitorial services for the district, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
No,
The ayes have it for the selection of the primary vendor of SSC services. Thank you, Ms. Burke. The next is approval of surplus bus bid. Do we have any questions related to the surplus bus bid? Was, I'm not following here, hold on. The recommendation is for us to approve. Who are we approving for this?
Keith Recycling. The highest bid was for Charles Kiefler, but we found out that he has a wife in the district, so his had to be disqualified, and that went to the next highest bidder, which is Keith Recycling.
Is that a requirement that we choose, that we do that? I mean, it wouldn't matter what that role of that person is in the district? I mean,
There's certain, Ms. Burke and I talked about this before, there's certain disqualifications for people within the district and their dependents, and I think she had already looked at that to make sure she had the right category of people that are disqualified.
so this is a category, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a teacher's aide, because the teacher's aide is not gonna have anything to do with,
it doesn't matter.
I think it's
The ethics will not,
Employee.
yeah, ethics says that employees or their immediate relatives cannot bid or purchase district equipment.
well, that's deep. Okay, well, then the next highest bidder is Keys Recycling. That's the recommendation of the superintendent. Are there any questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved, Sturgis.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second, to approve the surplus bid for buses for Keys Recycling. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Next item is approval of the bank depository, which is recommendation of the, come on, board docs.
Ms. Burke, down here where it says the PC software to allow secure access to the district account information, under Trustmark, it says no.
B and D.
No.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's, under PC software to allow transfer between all district accounts, it says no. And the reason why I said Trustmark, because that's what you asked the board to approve.
Yes.
Secure access, and I'm no computer genius, but don't you need secure access?
Well, what it says is it provided at no additional charge? And it is not provided at no additional charge. Trustmark charges $40 for that service fee, and Bancorp South charges $42.50.
Is that a $40 per transaction
No, that's just use of their online,
per month or
Yes.
once?
yes.
So 400 for 10 months, 480 for a year.
So it's 480 for a year? Okay.
Recommendation is Trustmark.
Yes, sir.
Who are you using presently?
Trustmark.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Trustmark for the bank depository.
Is there a second?
There was only two vendors, I will say this, there was only two vendors that bidded on this, and Bancorp South pulled out because they could not meet Trustmark rates. So that's why Trustmark was the vendor.
We have
Oh, I see.
a motion, is there a second?
Say Bancorp South pulled out.
Yes, sir. I called them and to give him an option, because we were looking at splitting the accounts between the two, since it was only two vendors. And Mark said that there was no way that they could beat Trustmark variable rate. They couldn't even meet the variable rate. So he thanked us for giving them opportunity, but they couldn't match it.
I second.
We had a motion and proper second to approve Trustmark as our positive record. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved. Next item on the agenda is Section J, discussion action items. Do you want to run through school risk improvement plans? Do we have anyone here to present for the school risk improvement plan since we're in the summer? Is there?
Doc, what was the finding on that?
That even though those principles were gone, it's still, the information still needed to be shared publicly. I do have the information in front of me.
Well, we're ready for it. Let's have it.
Okay.
Yep, come on.
This is South Park's plan of action. As you all are aware, that South Park will have a new principal beginning July 3rd. This is the final action plan presentation that would have to be made for both schools. For South Park, under leadership, their goal was to observe classroom instruction and provide feedback to teachers. The district action was to support them through doing instructional rounds. The school's actions were to schedule time to conduct classroom observations, to provide ongoing feedback to teachers, and to identify strengths and weaknesses. Under the curriculum instruction piece, their goal was to increase instructional time for all at-risk students. The district provided multiple levels of support to support the school. The school's plan included providing intensive instruction in ELA, math, science, and providing curriculum walkthroughs, et cetera, on that. For their professional development, their goal was to provide professional development in classroom management, also in enhancing skills in reading, informational text, writing, number and operation, fractions, and measurement and data. All of this information regarding the professional development is a continuation of what they presented before. So without being redundant, I don't want to waste time sharing stuff that they've already presented previously about what has happened at the school. With Vicksburg Junior High, it was the same information basically presented as in the previous sessions. They did provide a few updates with some specific things that they did right there at the end to try to increase their student achievement. So with that being said, that's a brief overview of their schools at risk reports.
Dr. Winter, question.
Yes, sir.
If South Park and Vicksburg Junior, why can't their plan be that of successful school that we have? Say, for example, if we got a bad mark here and this school over here has a better mark and the same, why can't they intertwine with that school principals and try to do it? In other words, I got this plan here, but this plan over here is working now. So can we interject, can the principal sit down and say, hey, this is good here, this might work for you, and we come out of it with one set, and said, I'm over here trying to do this, and I'm over here doing this. And right now, you know, it's just not working in one place when this principal has already proved that he's successful or she's successful at doing what she's doing. So can we, since we one district, can we intertwine?
Right, well, part of what the superintendent's approach has been since he's been here is to provide a collaborative approach towards teaching and learning on the administrative level. And so there's been quite a bit of activity where all of the principals have worked together on specific strategies, using best practices based on research. There was a wealth of time spent conducting, reviewing Hattie's research on effective practices. What the research says gives you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of practices and what have you. And part of what the superintendent has done in holding those principals accountable is making sure that what they do is backed by research.
And I can extend that. One of the things that we did, we actually assigned multiple principals to each other as accountability partners, and they had individual goals that were academic, structural, and organizational in nature, and they had to update each other and email me where they were on each other's plans.
Great. Appreciate that, Doc.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is board policy on, I think, national board certification. It is for information only. Board members, please review, and we will be voting on that at our next meeting. The next item is our athletic handbook. Is that for review or is that for approval?
That's for approval, but I would like to
Has
say
it,
something.
did we have that last meeting? Cause it,
That's not a policy that issue of, I mean, unless you requested it, but it's not a.
okay, it's not a policy, so it's not,
No.
okay. Board members, are there any questions or comments related to the candidate?
He has something.
He
Yes,
has
sir.
something to say.
I would like to say that I did add to the handbook some things that I feel are pertinent to our athletes' matriculation through high school and moving on to college. Those are ACT dates that I think our parents need to know, in which now it's been, we had 6 dates, but they've added the 7th date in July. I wanted to make sure that our parents knew when that was. NCAA eligibility regulations. I feel like our parents need to know that, as well as communication from parent and athlete to our coaches and to our athletic and administrative officers. So I do want to let you know that that was added. To me, that's pertinent information for our kids moving forward, to try to get them to be academically eligible when they do move on, and to make sure that parents are aware of things that are going on around them.
One question, Mr. A.D.
Yes, sir.
Our archery team policy is the same as our football team policy.
What
In other words, what I'm saying
To
is
be eligible to play?
whatever we're doing, eligibility-wise, telephone-wise, what dress code-wise, that we all are on the same policy. Because where the problem comes is that I play softball and then I might play, fast pitch softball, my coach said that I can have my phone.
Right.
Your coach said you can't have your phone. Now, the problem comes is because you one district. Either we all coaches sit down together and, hey, we come out of here and this is the way we're gonna do it. And then when mama or daddy come up there, this is the policy. This is everybody. Because don't wanna walk in the door and say, well, Mr. Sturgis is doing this and Coach Stevens is doing that. And my child just don't know what to do. And I don't think it's right because, you know, we don't have a policy. We should have a district-wide policy on all our athletics. And if a coach feels strongly enough about it, come to you, sit down and make the call. But don't come to you after the call been made.
Right.
You know, and sometimes coaches get to a point where it's entitlement. It's not Vicksburg Warren School District program, it's my program.
So let me go there with you. I think I'm gonna hit on Coach's idea, is that if we have a student that plays baseball, and we have a student that plays, is on the archery team.
Yeah.
And both of them have the same infraction, let's say they do something, have a lapse of judgment, are both of them gonna be either allowed or not allowed to play based on the same rules? So in other words, if they, skip class or anything like that, I don't know, I don't see that.
Well, that goes back to the student handbook. If a kid skips class and they are suspended for 3 days, I'm just using that as an example. If they are suspended on the day of a game, then they can participate. That's common rule. If, I skip, Mr. Sheila skips, and he plays baseball, and I'm on the archery team, and we serve our punishment with the school, should that be double jeopardy with the team? No. Are there things that coaches will put in place for team rules? Yes, every team has their own set of team rules. Now, if you may coach every team at Vicksburg High School, need to have the same team rules, that would be something that we can definitely talk about, but the coaches are
I think
supposed
that's
to be
what you're asking.
collaborating
Yeah.
to move forward.
Yes.
And I'm gonna ask the question, cause you were a coach.
Mhm.
There are certain things that are important to certain programs, and what I don't want us to do is cornhole every decision for a coach that don't have the autonomy to make the things that are important to them important to their kids.
Definitely
Because
not.
two programs, even though, and I'm all about the unified, Lord, you know I am, but when it comes down to a baseball coach making a decision for a team, there's lots of variables that are within that.
True.
Their talent may be different, their
Let me give
needs
you
may be
let me
different.
give you an example of something that happened 3 or 4 years ago. We had an issue with a student in band at Vicksburg and an issue with a student in band at Warren Central. The student in band in Vicksburg was kicked out of band, and the student and for a very similar infraction, and the student at Warren Central was not, because it was left up to the band director. In both instances, it was left up to the band director. But if you're in the parent's eye, you go,
Wasn't
my
fair.
child it was not fair. So how do you address that?
What,
With every decision, even with our spirit handbook last year, we said that every decision that's made that big will be made by the principal as well as the coach collaboratively. It's not a coach's decision, it's not a director's decision. That should be taken to the principal, so that the principal and the director or coach can make a decision.
But y'all can see how we're all one district. We're
Right.
trying to we always hear where you do this for this group, you don't do this for this group. We want to make sure that we're fair.
Correct.
Everyone's playing with the same rules, and
the
so,
problem is, we will not sit down with each other. I run mine, you run yours. And until we sit down and come through this together, say, this is what, not just like the superintendent said, what I don't feel that this should be, well, we need to sit down as grown-up, if have to, then the principals come in and make a rule, say, well, this is what we're gonna do. Since you all can't sell it, we'll sell it for you. But until we sit down together, and, and get on that page, then the kids will stop holding the card, and the parent calls, that's Jim Bob's cousin, over here, and you did Billy Bob, and Billy Bob came home and told mama, so now we got a problem. And so all I'm saying is communication.
Sure.
What the superintendent want, and, our coaches just, we're territorial. You know, but if it's good enough for me, it should be good enough for you. And then if you and I can't come to a conclusion, then we got two principals that's gonna say, hey, but we'll make it for you. And if they have a problem with making it, then they come to the man and say, hey, this is the way it's gonna be. And we go on about our business. But until we do that, until they understand that, we're gonna continue to have, Mr. Winters dealing with this over here and dealing with that, and all it took was to sit down and let's do it. If you don't wanna, if we don't need phone, then let's talk about it. If we need phone, let's talk about it. But I just think we're one district, we've been one district a long time on paper. But, until we, coaches and all, we Vicksburg one school district.
In this process, didn't you sit down with both cheer coaches in the same
Yes,
room,
for
or
Spirit.
football coaches, and?
We sat down and we talked about things that were important to
From
their
building to
programs.
building.
From building
Make
to
sure.
building. Spirit, we sat down for 4 hours together and we talked about everything. Our coaches, they collaborate. I'm making sure that Warren Central coaches are talking to Vicksburg coaches and vice versa. So I understand the we're one district thing, but we are working to come together to collaborate and talk.
That's it, because last year we had some excitement that shouldn't have been exciting.
Sure.
Yeah,
You
true.
know,
Yeah, we
it
did.
should have been, but-
True.
Do we have any other questions, any other questions concerning related to the handbook? Do we have a motion to approve the handbook?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the athletic directors and the Vicksburg One School District athletic handbook.
Is there a second?
So moved.
A motion, proper second to approve the presented athletic handbook for 2017-2018. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We have approved your handbook. Mr. Naylor, thank you, sir. Next item, is our library, policies and procedure handbook, and this is,
Second viewing.
it's our
Y'all
second
tabled it
viewing,
at
so
the
we need to
last
take a
one.
vote on this one. Is there any questions concerning this policy or procedure for the library policies and procedure handbook?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the library policy handbook.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and proper second to approve the library and policies procedure handbook. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? You know, I thought that one was gonna be a lot more controversial, just so you know.
Yeah,
You know? I'm just glad we can check books out. Sorry, a little levity, never hurt anybody. The next one is our district wellness policy. I can't determine if this is for action. Is this for action or review? Informational.
Action. Laura?
The wellness policy is for action.
Yes.
It's just an update that's required by the USDA regulations.
So if this is a true wellness policy, should this not be added to an official policy for the district? As a numbered policy?
That's a great
You don't think so?
No, I think this is more like the athletic. I look at this as the athletic handbook, the library
Okay.
handbook. This,
Okay.
to me, is, I view this as
There was a wellness policy already in
So you-
place, and through the Healthy Hungry Free Kids Act of 2010 and USDA regulations, they asked us to meet
Okay.
the sodium, fat, and calorie requirements.
your policies are, your A through H or whatever they are, general school board, administration, board organization, et cetera, personnel.
You don't think it falls into,
I don't think it
Okay.
does, other than maybe if you had a, one policy under your general policy that says the school district will adopt.
so
a
we don't
district
have
wellness
one
policy.
currently,
That's
that
not
wellness
required.
policy. Okay, good. All right, any questions on this one?
Mr. Superintendent, does it meet your recommendation?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the district wellness policy.
is there a second?
Second.
All those, we have a motion and proper second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have approved the wellness policy. Next item, handbooks. Are you asking for approval on this one as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, this 2017-2018 student handbooks. Any comments? Questions, concerns, issues? Do we have a motion?
Please, with us, Superintendent.
Yeah, and Mr. Campbell actually went through it with a fine tooth comb too.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the handbook.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second, to accept the 2017-2018 handbook presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have approved. Next is change in class structure for Dana/VIS and Sherman Avenue.
Yeah, this is to align us with and I'm not gonna go into specifics unless you want me to, the original reasons why 3 grades were kept on one side of the building. But as we've added pre-Ks, we've added personnel to one side of the building, we really haven't adjusted it up. So the recommendation, or the first thing that has to happen for us to do this recommendation from MDE is to have you approve it at the board. And what it would do is make Dana Road and Sherman Avenue be a K2 school, and all of the 3rd grade would be at the intermediate side. So you'd have a WCI with the 3rd grade, and they would house, and pre-K would be on this side.
So we basically still have the same, because we're adding the pre-K, are we really still basically having the same number of students?
It's about, yes. We're just bouncing the 3rd grade, and it makes it cleaner when you start looking at disaggregated data, because what happens is you have to go next door to get the growth module anyway.
But we
So
also previously had a 3rd grade on both sides,
we did.
which is,
Well, it was tied to a different model.
yes, okay. All right. Board members, any questions? Do we have a recommendation?
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent, I move that we approve the change of class structure.
Second.
There's a motion, a proper second, to approve the change in class structure for Dana/VIS and Sherman Avenue/WCI. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's been approved. Next request is a request for temporary easement on 16th section.
July board meeting,
July board meeting.
number 8.
We're postponing that?
Yes, I'm gonna be in Chicago. I can participate, y'all approve me on that trip. If I can
Oh, I'm sorry.
participate via Skype, if you wanna keep the date, I'm fine with that, or we can change the date where I can physically be.
Well, I want to go on the record as saying that every time David has stood in front of you, we've had some really good meetings. Matter of fact,
On both days, I plan on being.
I thought Mr.
Well, I have
Campbell
no-
handled the pressure real well.
Yeah, you did.
I don't have any problem with changing it, so. is there a
Mr.
motion?
Joey said he felt like that guy on that board, you know, that spins and the darts come at him.
Yeah. I don't see, so you're requesting that we change the July board
Yes.
meeting to July 20th?
Yes.
So we can put you through all the hell we want to give
Yes.
you? Okay.
That's right.
Is there a motion?
Okay, that's right, when we get back from Hot Springs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the change of the board meeting?
I'll make a motion that we approve, Mr. Campbell not gonna be here?
He's not gonna be here.
Not unless you change it.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second to approve the July board meeting, changing it to July 20th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Now, you can talk about my easement.
You don't.
Request for temporary easement on 16th section. Does
You got it.
anyone,
Have y'all seen it? You got it in your packets?
Yep.
The easement.
have you reviewed it, Mr.
Oh,
Attorney?
yeah.
You're okay with it?
Yes,
Yeah, it's been a little work on this, we're getting it figured out, but it's okay. Go ahead to Christine. Yeah,
Okay.
We're satisfied with it, you are.
I
Release
move
one more
that
day,
we, approve the temporary easement, 16th section, T185 north.
We have a motion and proper second to approve the requested temporary easement for 16, as specified, Deer Creek section. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Also, Mr. Chairman, I want to point out to the community that we're losing Miss Jeffries after this meeting. No. She's been with us for many years. This is her last board meeting. Christine, you'll be missed.
You definitely will.
Definitely.
And I'm gonna have to bring 3
Very
people in for y'all to approve the replacement. She's invaluable. She's an amazing, amazing woman.
But we have enjoyed giving you a really hard time, just so you know. Because you've taken it quite well, and I will say, we have not always been the easiest group to get along with. Let's see, so the next item is a section.
Yes, and I don't know that, this one is gonna,
Have you approved it, or were you?
No, this is not
No.
approval.
This is a review.
this is
discussion.
this is open to see if this is something you want me to entertain before we start digging. We were approached by Sir Pete Cirillo, and he has a Cirillo Technology and Development. He's currently working with ERDIC to produce some homes on their campus. I got the reference through Colonel Green to meet with him. He came in, he's trying to get ahead of what you're talking about, Mr. Joe, and that is, we have a lot of employees that they're about to hire, and to quote Colonel Green, we don't have an education problem, we have a real estate problem. And I think it was interesting as we started talking with Bailey Group, it'll be neat when they give you their first presentation. That was the exact same thing that their consultant came in and said. He talked about the value of home availability in the scope of age that we need, and it's not there. So a necessity is for our young teachers, our young engineers to have a home that is affordable. And in our home that are out there, we've got some really expensive ones, we've got some really cheap ones, we don't have a lot of mid-range that are available. So this guy has proposed to move forward with a concept, and that is to lease a part of our 16-section land, which is bisected 9 Mile Cutoff Road. I'm sure that means a lot to y'all. That is currently a hunting lease. This particular issue would require us to rezone that to a residency. In addition, we would have to move into a multiple-year lease, and he would like to build homes on that property. And I think the home range would be from $170,000 to $225,000. We met with him a few weeks back to get a little more clarification. These are zero carbon footprint homes, solar panels, and anyway, before we started really moving forward, one of the things I did is I called Briggs and said, hey, let's come over and talk about this thing. And we've still got some concerns with that, and but I didn't want to move forward with any more of this work between all of us if that's not something y'all would like to even consider us moving forward with.
So the idea of this is to provide the type of homes we're gonna need for those type of families that would be filling these jobs, professional jobs at ERDIC, or
Yes.
those type of jobs?
Yes, and I'm not mistaken, he said the first set of those would be 300 homes, and
Is this something,
expansion.
Briggs, without, we don't know all the details, but is this something a district can enter into and has done in the past? And
Yes,
is
I
feasible?
know a lot about this because I've dealt with this for another district before, taking it all the way to almost the threshold for it. And there's obviously some benefits for the community, the homes. Of course, my job as the attorney sometimes is to be the bad guy and take the concerns, and I do have to tell you those. I mean, one is reclassification of land is not a big deal. Two, obviously, price and negotiations, that'll be stuff that y'all would handle in executive session when you start getting out of that point.
So,
I
let
think the
me
biggest
ask you a question about that real quick. I assume that we'd be able to generate more revenue.
Then you could on the hunting list, probably so.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
probably so. Well, I don't know that it's clear necessarily what we're doing here because I don't have enough information to know how this could be structured in a lot of ways. One, you could have somebody that leases the whole tract and they sublease with your approval a bunch of different houses, or they couldn't sell anything because it's 16-section land, long-term leases. Two is that you could, maybe pay them some kind of development cost, and then you could have them, everybody pays directly to you as opposed to a sublease, so you lease all these houses. The concern, again, I haven't dealt with this before, the concern is when you do long-term leases on 16-section property like that, if you get 300 houses, you put 100 houses out there, if you've got anybody as a lessee who's a sub-lessee to these tenants,
Are they gonna maintain it? Are they gonna keep the roads up? Are they gonna keep the water and the sewage and all those things?
Those have to be
After
addressed.
40 years, a lot of times these things will happen and the people will transfer to one company and then transfer to another company, and you're 4 companies down the road, and somebody finally just says, I've got my money out of it, I'm walking away. The homeowners just won't take care of their home unless you've got some kind of separate agreement where they're agreeing to pay for the, of course, this isn't a county, you know, you may won't have the same subdivision requirements that you would have in the city. That's one issue to think about. If the homes get dilapidated, they're your home, they're not your homes, because we'll all be gone. They'll be the board that's sitting in these seats, they'll be their homes to deal with, and just try to have rundown homes, and I hope that would not happen, but you're gonna be dealing with, how do you deal with it? And let's just say 50 years from now, 60 years from now, that neighborhood is just in rotten shape, really bad. How much you gonna pay to clean up the place, and take out all that stuff? You hope it doesn't happen, but that's a realistic possibility.
But we're not to that.
No, this is really, do we sick the dogs on them or not? Because if y'all are interested in this conversation, Briggs has got a lot of answers to get for y'all before that, but I didn't want to start paying him to go talk to somebody if this isn't even something y'all want to consider.
I guess I have instead of the attorney being the bad guy, I guess I'll continue what I do best. I'm concerned, number one is that the homes being in that area, are we gonna split in half and say half go to Vicksburg and half go to Warren Central? All of these will go to Warren Central. Then I see down here a new elementary school, which has been talked about in Bovina. So I can see where this trend is going, and it doesn't appear, in my opinion, to be going in the trend that we need to be going in. And again, I get what they're saying, I understand what they're saying, but there's gonna have to be some equal representation. And with this option that we're showing here, in my opinion, what it'll do is it'll blow up Warren Central, blow up Bovina, which we can't go any further on Bovina. So next thing you're gonna say is, we gotta build a school. We gotta build an elementary. And then, bam. So you see what's gonna happen. It's all going that way.
Well, this
That's the only way it can go, really. In Warren County, that's the only available land, the big tracts.
But then you're gonna have separation is what you're gonna have. You're gonna go back to the 50s and the 60s.
Well, we have to think about it from both sides though, too. You're getting very heavy minority numbers in certain schools.
But you can't do that without redistricting.
Well, I guess my question is, I understand your point, Jim, very well taken. The question is, for the elementary side though, is this really where they're proposing? Is this in Bovina or is this in?
It's close to South Park. It's real close to South Park. Now, I don't know where the line, I have to look back at the line to see where it's drawn.
Do we know?
I know the area, you know where Hallsbury tees into 9 Mile Cutoff? That's about the area where we're talking about.
That kind of know it. No, sir, I'm not a clear picture.
It's a little this side of South Park. It's real close to South Park. That'd be the closest elementary, and I can't say that it's in that district. Because that district, as you know, zigzags down there by all 27. This is between 27 and Hallsbury.
Yes, sir.
I think there are a lot of questions that have not been answered, of course. I think there are a lot of concerns that have been brought up, and I think it would behoove us to do our due diligence and to see what the opportunities are. It may in the end be not something that we're interested in, but I think it behooves us to at least look and to consider it.
My only thing is, I like what the attorney said, 50 years from now, I mean, you can hunt forever. And I got a guy that'll just walk through some grass without even looking down. And so a hunter will be there forever. And I agree with them, if the houses are gone, you know what it is. You can go around Vicksburg, the city of Vicksburg now, and see dilapidated homes and neighborhoods. I mean, I live in Nevada, okay, so I get it. So that's the biggest concern for me. You can always rent to a hunter, always, because your kids hunt.
As much as they can.
So, I mean, as long as you have kids, yeah, as long as you have kids, you can have folks that hunt. And you know, I know Miss Jeffers is as Mr. Leviza so said, she's gone and she really doesn't care, but I'll still try to lean on her a little bit to, 'cause she's a Section 16 person that really has it down pat. But it's, to me, and I'm gonna be quiet, Mr. President, to me, I think hunting is the way to go.
Well, I personally think we ought to, I agree with there are a lot of concerns that haven't been answered, but I also think that we've all sat here and wondered why everyone's moving to Clinton and Madison. And one of the reasons is there's not a lot of places to live. This isn't adjacent to Erdick, which would be, and we always complain about all those high-paying jobs that work at Erdick that go elsewhere to live. I think it's just for the consideration, we ought to at least do our due diligence for the district and investigate whether it's even an option we want to consider. It's not necessarily saying we're going to do it. It's something that we ought to look at and find out what our options are. We might make more money in 10 years than we could make in 100 years off a lease. So you have to also weigh the fact that in those 10 years, not saying that we will, but we don't know the answer to that question yet.
The other
It
thing
needs to be investigated.
I didn't tell y'all, I meant to tell y'all, is it's a $10 million project, but he's working with a group out of Canada to fund. So he's got the financial backing to do this too. That's one of the conversations that Briggs and I had. And I was real candid with him on the personal commitments, and you know, there are other communities that he's built like this, and they have kind of a self-serve, all zero lot line approach, so that it's more geared to no upkeep or manual labor to produce. So I didn't say that, but anyway.
So you really, at this point in time, you're asking us
I just need to know if y'all want me to continue to move or not.
to consider it. We're not asking for approval to
No.
do this.
I just didn't want to waste any of his time and money, and he's also, the guy's reached out, wants us to allow him to go look at the property, and I wasn't gonna allow any of that to happen without approval for y'all to let me move forward.
So you really want us, okay.
And the only thing I want to say is, that's a nice paintbrush, Mr. Pratt, what you said, but as you all know that, the reason why they moved to Madison and Clinton is not because of housing. So let's be real with the conversation, if we're gonna be real here. So once our schools and the superintendent and the deputy superintendent are diligently working hard, but once we get our school systems to where they can be as equal or a little bit better than they are now, we'll attract more people. So that's the real deal.
Well, there is a shortage in housing. You talking to real estate.
I'm not saying it's not a shortage of housing, but they go to Clinton because it's a neighbor. They go to Madison because it's a B, so that's why they go.
We're talking about a couple of thousand jobs if all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
And we're
would-
gonna get
and if
some
the-
of
and if we don't,
Continental Tire
they're
as
not gonna
well.
build this many houses overnight, and if there's not the capacity or a plan already in place, if this does happen, we will lose those people to Madison.
Exactly. We need to have a place for them.
So do we have a motion to at least have the superintendent consider to pursue what our options are here? Or is this?
I'll make that motion that we allow the superintendent to have discussions with these people. There's no final decision made until it comes back to the board.
Is there a second? Well, we're just gonna,
According to the mayor's office, Vicksburg has lost 6,000 residents. And if we don't head this thing off, folks,
I don't see how not at least
we're gonna
looking
get
at it
smaller,
hurts.
not bigger.
Looking at our options is not necessarily taking those options. Not building a house or even considering building houses is definitely not going to solve our problems in Vicksburg. So, no second? Dies for a second. Great for opportunities for Vicksburg. We're gonna go down the tubes. Next on the agenda. Is executive session, are there any items for executive session? Huh? do you have anything to discuss in executive? Okay. Seeing no items for executive session, do we have a motion? I think that's it. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Move it with adjourn.
A motion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Great.